ये इधर से हमें नीचे लेके जा रहे हैं ग्राउंड की तरफ। ड्रीम कम ट्रू है भाई SCG में आना। ये ड्रेसिंग रूम है भाई।
you name it, they've all come. But it wasn't until King Kohli's team came a few years ago and ruined my day, basically. They beat us on home soil. But it's a wonderful example of where one country starts and how they've embraced the game of cricket even more so than most other nations. So that's
ये हेजलवुड का शू है। ओ भाई साहब ये तो बहुत ही बड़ा है यार। इसका शू साइज तो 12-13 का होगा, साइज 9 और ये साइज 14। साइज 14 है भाई हेजलवुड का।
includes Sachin Tendulkar with his 3 centuries. All those 3 centuries, when you look at them, have got a D note against them, meaning he was knocked out. The Ashes, had she not done that, that urn, that little thing that we fight over for English cricket, wouldn't exist, and maybe the series may not be called the Ashes, it could be called something else.
India's long-awaited first Test series win on Australian soil in 2019, and Cricket World Cups held here in 1992 and 2015.
So Steve Walls is proudly here on loan, and it's been through the wash cycle, it's been stitched up as many times. That's seen over 160 Test matches, that cup. So that's why it looks older. But
है स्टीव वॉग, इधर स्टीव वॉग का लगाया हुआ है इन्होंने। हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल। भाई आज बहुत ही एक्साइटिंग डे है एज अ क्रिकेट लवर फॉर मी। आप लोगों ने डिस्क्रिप्शन में देख ही लिया होगा। आज हमारी विजिट है आइकॉनिक सिडनी क्रिकेट ग्राउंड। भाई अभी तक तो टीवी पे ही देखा था जितने भी मैचेस हुए थे, आज पहली बार देखने को मिलेगा। वैसे तो ये ऑफ सीज़न है, अभी मैचेस नहीं हो रहे हैं। हम मोस्टली रग्बी और सोकर का सीज़न है, क्रिकेट का ऑफ सीज़न होता है। बट हम एटलीस्ट यहाँ आए हुए हैं सिडनी में, तो एटलीस्ट ग्राउंड तो विजिट कर ही सकते हैं। और ये पूरा प्रॉपर गाइडेड टूर है। इट्स नॉट लाइक कि बस हम जाएंगे और हम बस ऐसे ही आ जाएंगे। पूरा गाइडेड टूर होगा, पूरे एक ड्रेसिंग रूम्स और ये सब हमें दिखाएंगे वो लोग, और प्रॉपर एक्सपीरियंस लेंगे। वहाँ पे बैट्स रखे हैं, ग्लव्स रखे हैं पुराने प्लेयर्स के, उनकी पूरी जर्नी बताएंगे हमें। तो वो सारी चीज़ें हैं जो मैंने अभी उस पर जो डिस्क्रिप्शंस में लिखा हुआ था टिकट बुक करते हुए पढ़ा मैंने। तो कैसा रहता है इस वाले टूर में, मैं आपको भी साथ में रखूँगा अपनी जर्नी में थ्रू दिस वीडियो। बाकी हम तो काफ़ी एक्साइटेड हैं। अगर आप लोग भी क्रिकेट लवर हो तो आई होप आप लोगों को भी अच्छा लगेगा। हम कुछ भी करने जाते हैं तो बारिश तो देखो हो ही जाती है।
ये भी मेरी गलती है। नहीं भाई मेरी गलती है। नहीं मेरी गलती है। नहीं बाबा नहीं मेरी गलती है यार।
तो आज भी बारिश हो गई है। तो मोस्टली वैसे वो शेड में रहने वाला है जो टूर है हमारा, वो शेडेड टूर होगा। रूम्स वगैरह दिखाएंगे ज़्यादातर। मेनली क्रिकेट ग्राउंड में भी शायद जाने का मौका मिलेगा हमें, बट आई एम नॉट श्योर राइट नाउ कि ऐसा है या नहीं है। अभी वहाँ पे चलते हैं, एंट्री कराते हैं अपनी। टिकट्स तो हमने बाय कर ली है। टिकट कॉस्ट भी ज़्यादा नहीं है, अगर डॉलर्स में बात करें तो। इंडियंस करेंसी में बात करें तो थोड़ी सी ज़्यादा, 1800-1900 रुपये की एक आदमी की टिकट है। और $33 की यहाँ पे है, $33 की टू बी स्पेसिफिक है टिकट इसकी। तो बस हम निकले हैं घर से, अभी आधा घंटा दिखा रहा है यहाँ से, तो चलते हैं। बाकी वेदर तो काफ़ी अच्छा हो ही गया है। लेट्स सी अपना टूर भी कैसा रहता है सिडनी क्रिकेट ग्राउंड का। ये है लायंस स्टेडियम, एलियंस स्टेडियम। दिस इज़ फॉर रग्बी। रग्बी का भी यही है। और ये है भाई अपना SCG। इसकी यहाँ पे पार्किंग करके तो फिर इसमें एंटर करेंगे। उधर से एंट्री यार, जस्ट एंट्री की है अभी। और इधर लेडीज़ पेविलियन है और इधर लेके जा रहे हैं हम लोगों को। इधर से एंट्री। दिस इज़ SCG म्यूज़ियम। अभी एंट्री करा ली भाई। ये टैग दिया है इन्होंने, ये टैग हो गया। अभी टूर अपना स्टार्ट होगा, अभी 10 मिनट है इसके लिए। बाकी ये सब है। हार्टली कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशन टू द टाइगर्स एंड योर DCC 1939-40। मेंबरशिप ऑफ द सिडनी क्रिकेट ग्राउंड। अच्छा, इसकी मेंबरशिप का मैं बोल रहा था भैया से कि मेंबरशिप ले लेते हैं, तो उसने बताया कि ये 17 साल तक की वेटिंग है मेंबरशिप के लिए अभी। हाँ बेटा, लेगो से बनाया हुआ है, क्रिकेट ग्राउंड का लेगो से बनाया हुआ है। किसने बनाया देखो यहाँ पर, लेगो मेंबर्स पेविलियन 17,000 पीसेस का बना हुआ है। थैंक यू। ये ओल्ड शूज़ और सब रखे हैं, शूज़ वॉर्न बाय जोश हेजलवुड। ये हेजलवुड का शू है। ओ भाई साहब, ये तो बहुत ही बड़ा है यार, इसका शू साइज़ तो 12-13 का होगा, साइज़ 9 और ये साइज़ 14, साइज़ 14 है भाई हेजलवुड का। ये सर डोनाल्ड ब्रैडमैन, डॉन ब्रैडमैन का है, उन्हीं का बैट हुआ है। कब है बिजनेस विजडन क्रिकेटर्स ऑफ द सेंचुरी। बेसिकली 100 मेंबर्स का पैनल था जिन्होंने 20th सेंचुरी के प्लेयर्स को जज किया था। तो डॉन ब्रैडमैन को 100 वोट्स मिले, गारफील्ड सोबर्स 90, जैक होप्स 30, शेन वॉर्न 27, ब्यूवन रिचर्ड्स 25। भाई इंडियन है नहीं कोई, सचिन तेंदुलकर एंड अदर्स, ना ब्रायन लारा, कोई नहीं। हाँ, ये है ना भाई अपने मतलब की चीज़। ये है द ग्रेट मैन रवि शास्त्री इज़ वेस्ट, रवि शास्त्री का है ये। लेकिन ये लेटेस्ट वाला होगा जब उन्होंने अभी डायरेक्टर थे। ऑस्ट्रेलिया वर्सेस इंडिया 3-7 जनवरी 2012। विराट कोहली इज़ बैटिंग क्लब, विराट कोहली के बैटिंग क्लब हैं ये। बेसिकली वेन्यूज़ मांग लेती हैं उनसे कि आप अगर म्यूज़ियम के लिए देना चाहो तो दे दो। तो विराट कोहलीज वॉर दिस ग्लव्स ड्यूरिंग इंडियाज ड्रॉ अगेंस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया एट SCG in 2019। ये स्टीव वॉक की है कैप, ये है डॉन ब्रैडमैन की, दिस वन।
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please come over to this side of myself. We're standing on hallowed ground at the moment. The SCG started its operations in 1852. 1852 was the English soldiers that were accommodated in the barracks to the north of this precinct. It's known as the Victoria Barracks. That facility still exists today, still involved India's first tour to Australia in 1947. The first tour after the end of World War II, and the captain was, I hope I say this correctly, Lala Amarnath. Lala Amarnath, yeah. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me, but Mr. Amarnath was the captain of India on that tour, and his hero, the one that he really wanted to play against, was none other than Don Bradman. But it's also rumoured that he bowled his worst bowlers that day because he wanted to be on the ground when history was made. 100th century in first class cricket, and it happened here on that day. In fact, the scorecards down here, it shows Bradman scoring 172 in that match, but the catch was taken by none other than his hero, Mr. Amarnath, who took the catch in that. Since that moment, we've had some great teams come from India. You know, Kapil Dev, Bisham Bainey, Gavaskar, Tendulkar, you name it, they've all come. But it wasn't until King Kohli's team came a few years ago and ruined my day, basically. They beat us on home soil. But it's a wonderful example of where one country starts and how they've embraced the game of cricket even more so than most other nations. So that's in the 1992 World Cup. The eventual winners were Pakistan. The captain was Imran Khan. They played England. The final was at the MCG. All right. The late entry into the World Cup was a team called Zimbabwe. That's why their name's not on the shirt. But it evened out the amount of teams playing in the tournament. And Zimbabwe's jersey is right there. So a little bit of history going back to 1992 on our home ground. But they took it one step further. Someone published a mock obituary in the Sportsman's newspaper in England. It indicated that English cricket had died, that the game of cricket would be cremated, and the ashes brought to Australia by the next English captain. That's how it starts, right? But the next English captain comes to Australia without the ashes. In country Victoria, there was a young lady who was infatuated by the English captain, Ivo Bligh. To get his attention, she thought, well, what can I do? I'm going to use this little bit of information to see if he is attracted to me, basically. And she was mocking Ivo Bligh about the ashes. Where are they? Why haven't they shown up? Haven't you bought them? All in trying to get, that sort of relationship going. So Ivo Bligh goes, what are you talking about? I don't know anything about these ashes. We haven't brought them. But look, what she then did was burn some bales, empty the contents of a perfume bottle out, and put that in, inscribe it with "These are the ashes," the urn that you see, and handed it to the English captain. And the English captain thought, that's not a bad sort, is it? I might invite her to England. And she went to England with him and got married. So in the end, the ashes, had she not done that urn, that little thing that we fight over for English cricket, wouldn't exist, and maybe the series may not be called The Ashes, it could be called something else. But it really was a mock obituary which led to an interest in the captain of England, and it became a love story in the end. So that's how it happened. But that bat featured in the match. So that's a classic piece of memorabilia here in the museum. Back in the early 1900s, it was only until 1926 that they made the hat a little bit more baggier than it was previously. You can see one here, which is more like an English cap, but they developed this with more width for our sunnier conditions. So these are great examples, led by this one that's in front of us. That's Don Bradman's 1948 cap that he took to England. This was the last tour he went on. That cap was in his kit bag, getting the one cap, which meant that they had to treasure it. Remember David Warner lost his recently? Well, it wasn't lost, it was somewhere in the team bags. But look, at the end of the day, he was desperate to get it back because that's the only one that he had. So Steve Walls is proudly here on loan. And it's been through the wash cycle, it's been stitched up as many times. That's seen over 160 test matches, that cap. So that's why it looks older. But Bradman's looks newer, doesn't it? Yeah. The cloth that's sitting in front of that cap was something that Steve Wall put in his pocket and wiped his brow with. But in England, he needed something to wipe his brow, and Tom Moody tore up this towel into pieces, took it out to Steve Wall, who was wiping his brow during that innings, and scored a century with.
स्वास्तिक समझ आ रहा है ना आपको? सो बेसिकली वो जो था वो म्यूज़ियम था उधर. म्यूज़ियम के बाद ये इधर लेडीज़ पेविलियन है, इसके लिए तो उन्होंने बोला बाद में बताएंगे. थोड़ी थोड़ी झलकियाँ दिख रही हैं भाई ग्राउंड की अभी से ही, बट पूरा टूर होगा अभी तब जाएंगे. ये है स्टीव वॉग, इधर स्टीव वॉग का लगाया हुआ है इन्होंने.
Exclusive area, which is generally just for members. Gate A is the entrance for membership, people with members cards. And if it's a test match like England or India, people are lining up from 4 o'clock in the morning right across the road into the parklands. It really is a sight to see. Those members want to be first through those gates, because when they do, they need to run as quickly as possible, either up those stairs and around to the M.A. Noble Don Bradman grandstand, but wherever they feel that their favourite seat is, that's where they're going to the moment those doors are opening. So when they do come into this area, they're greeted by Richie Benaud, Steve Waugh, and now Belinda Clark. There are roughly 89 statues of cricketers at various grounds around the world. In Melbourne, there's the Shane Warne. Down at Bowral, where Bradman is, Bradman's museum and home ground is, there's a statue of Bradman. In Sydney, we have the statue of Steve Waugh, Richie Benaud, but also Belinda Clark. The Walk of Honour is devoted to none other than Don Bradman, probably the best batsman ever to play the game. But there's always periods and eras and stuff like that. But you know, his record is phenomenal. Not only did he have an average of almost 92 runs on this ground, in Test cricket he had an average of 99.94. And many of you know that he only needed 4 runs in his last innings, and he got that infamous duck. If he comes back to play another Test match, he would have needed 104 runs to get his average back up to 100. So that's how difficult it would have been. But he called it quits.
ये पूरा वॉक ऑफ ऑनर है, इसमें अलग अलग प्लेयर्स के नाम है, नॉट ओनली फॉर क्रिकेट, क्योंकि ये ग्राउंड और चीज़ों के लिए भी यूज़ होता है। ऑफ सीज़न रहता है जब, यहाँ पे कोई था लेकिन इन्होंने निकाल दिया है अभी इन्होंने। रॉब सिम्पसन है ये, तो ये पूरा वॉक ऑफ ऑनर है। एक और ये स्टैचू है यहाँ पे, दिस इज फ्रेड्स बोफोर्ट। कुछ तो बताएंगे इसके बारे में भी। इधर ये छोटा जो ग्राउंड है,
off the main ground, and they always have been. This precinct is where the international players, both the ladies and the men, will train, because it's giving the player a look and feel of what they may expect when they go out into the middle of the city cricket ground. So there are 16 lanes. They're all divided by the nets that come across the wires.
नेट्स हैं, यहाँ नेट्स करते हैं जब ग्राउंड मैचेस होते हैं, तो ये है जो ग्राउंड नेट्स के लिए यूज़ होता है। अभी नेट्स हटाए हुए हैं क्योंकि ऑफ सीज़न है, बट ये ग्राउंड है जो नेट्स के लिए यूज़ होता है यहाँ पे।
It was a series that was infamously known as the Bodyline series. Many of you may not know that, but England, especially the captain Douglas Jardine, he came with a plan. The plan was to bowl short towards the body, towards the head of most Australian batsmen, especially Don Bradman during that series. Because Bradman, if it was down here, he could easily defend it, play it, whatever. If it's up here, it's a little bit more difficult. So what Jardine did was employ a tactic called leg theory. Leg theory is bowling it towards the body, towards the head, and then stacking the field on the leg side with catches. Just like we do with the slips field. Jardine would have clapped his hands, the team would have gone from the slips to the leg side, because that's when the bowlers were going to bowl short and they were expecting a pull shot in the air to catch. And basically that worked for the English, and they beat Australia in that series. As I mentioned, infamously, the press had dubbed that series the Bodyline series, remembering no headwear, no arm guards, probably a thigh pad somewhere along the line. Bradman is known to have worn during that series an undergarment with some padding inside it that his wife had made for him. But that is that moment. But McCabe's 186 not out was an innings that Bradman had thought was one of the best he'd seen. Before I move on to the light towers, are there any questions?
तो अब हमें प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम में ले जा रहे हैं। यहाँ पे मीडिया रूम है, मीडिया को बैठ के जो कैप्टन और प्लेयर्स होते हैं वो सब जो आंसर करते हैं, वो रूम है। इसकी एंट्रेंस है इधर से। ये है प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम, यहाँ पे बैठते हैं प्लेयर्स और यहाँ पे बैठते हैं मीडिया वाले। वाह, ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस रूम है।
Just generally see where the players sit and the coach. And this is used for not only for the cricket in the summer, but in the winter we've got Australian rules football being played, and you'll see the ground set up for that. Lights, cameras, the press are sitting there, and as I said, if you're the winning captain, you will probably be very happy and answering better questions than the losing captain and coach. Can you imagine the losing captain and coach a few years ago to India coming up here and we've been beaten? Not something they wanted on their resume, but they had to suck it up and deal with it. So that would have been a press conference to be inside this room to see how that was developing. David Warner, when he retired here at the SCG, he had his final press conferences up here as well. So that's where you are at the moment. In a moment, I'll start playing the video presentation. It goes for about 10 minutes. It just talks a little bit more about what we've spoken about and may fill in a few blanks as well. So I'll get that going.
It's gone for it. There it is. Great moment in the history of Australian Test cricket.
So many of Australia's greatest sporting moments have happened right here at the SCG. This truly is Australia's most historically significant sporting precinct. Test match cricket was first played here in 1882, and the Members' Pavilion rose 4 years later, joined by the Ladies' Pavilion in 1896. These two heritage-listed pavilions are instantly recognisable here as cricket's greatest ever. Sir Don scored his world record of 452 and made his 100th right here at the SCG.
It was Australia's test and Bradman's last on the Sydney cricket ground.
The feats of Australian crowd favourite Doug Walters, champion West Indian stroke maker Brian Lara, and India's little master Sachin Tendulkar. Then there was Michael Clarke's record-breaking knock of 329 not out.
Let's start with that bohot. What a wonderful shot to bring up on as well. What a moment for Michael Clarke here on his home ground.
India's long-awaited first Test Series win on Australian soil in 2019 and Cricket World Cups held here in 1992 and 2015.
ये हॉल में लेके आए इधर, यहाँ पे डॉन ब्रैडमैन का पोस्टर लगा हुआ है। डॉन ब्रैडमैन हीरो है भाई इनका। इन्होंने बोला है थोड़ा यहाँ से फ़ोटोज़ वगैरह भी अगर आप लेना चाहो तो वो ले सकते हो। ये क्रिकेट ग्राउंड यहाँ से दिख रहा है एंड दिस इज़ द एंट्रेंस। यहाँ पे सिटिंग और ये क्रिकेट ग्राउंड है। ये पूरी लॉबी है इधर और ये है सिटिंग एरिया यहाँ पे जो है क्रिकेट ग्राउंड का। गजब ही है यार। ये तो लाइफ में मैच देखने आऊँगा, अब की बार ऑस्ट्रेलिया आऊँगा तो ये मैच देखने जब इंडिया का टूर होगा तब डेफिनेटली आऊँगा यहाँ पे। अभी तो किसी और लोकेशन पे ले जा रहे हैं, फिर कह रहे हैं ग्राउंड पे हम दोबारा लेके आएंगे आपको, तो तब आएंगे ग्राउंड पे। बड़ा प्यारा ग्राउंड है यार, मज़ा ही आ जाता है तो क्रिकेट देखने में। मीडिया सेंटर है यहाँ, यहाँ पे किसी किसी के बैट्स भी रखे हुए हैं। यहाँ से ग्राउंड दिखता है। ये मीडिया सेंटर है, जो लोग यहाँ बैठ के अपनी स्टोरीज़ वगैरह लिखते हैं। ये है सब।
So this is the media center for the journalists.
मीडिया सेंटर का व्यू है, यहाँ से मीडिया जहाँ बैठती है और जो पुराने प्लेयर्स बैठते हैं। कमेंट्री रूम भी होगा, उस तरफ होगा कमेंट्री रूम। ये व्यू आता है सामने से। जो मीडिया रूम था वो कहाँ, जहाँ से कमेंट्री वगैरह होती है, तो चैनल्स ने लिया हुआ है। फॉक्स स्पोर्ट्स, चैनल 9, उन सब के रूम्स थे वो, जहाँ से कमेंट्री करते हैं। ये बाकी फिर हम नीचे आए हैं इधर, कहीं तो ये लेके जा रहे हैं, अभी देखते हैं कहाँ लेके जाएंगे। वॉक का भी उसने बताया कि उधर से शायद हम ग्राउंड पे वॉक कर सकते हैं। ग्राउंड में अंदर तो नहीं ऑब्वियसली, बट साइड में तो भी देखते हैं। फ़ोटोज़ हमने ले ली हैं काफ़ी। हम ये इधर से हमें नीचे लेके जा रहे हैं ग्राउंड की तरफ। ड्रीम कम ट्रू है भाई SCG में आना। बचपन में देखते थे इंडिया को खेलते हैं यहाँ पे सिडनी क्रिकेट ग्राउंड। ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ही पता था स्टीव हॉक इधर से।
I do stress, take some of those photos before it comes in. It may not come, but it looking to be okay. But take some photos. I will shut up for about 5 minutes, and so that you guys can get.
ये व्यू है भाई, यहाँ पे पूरी प्रॉपर ग्रासेस हैं। स्वास्तिक में तो थोड़ी ग्रासेस जेब में रख ली निकाल के ऐसे। ये देखो ये जो स्टैंड है ये VIP स्टैंड होगा ना। ये बालकनी है, आई थिंक मेंबर्स पेविलियन है। दिस इज मेंबर्स पेविलियन। वो लेडीज़ पेविलियन है उधर जो है।
Known as the Lara Tendulkar Gate. It was only named that only a few years ago, and rightly so, because both players had incredible innings here, and they both loved this ground very, very much. In fact, Tendulkar thinks it's his best ground outside of India, but he privately said to me that's the best ground in the world. No, he didn't say that. Yeah. His average was 157 in Test matches.
Oh, a lot of sense nowhere. It's just 54.
You're walking back in history because every player since 1886, from an opposition perspective or a home perspective, have used this balcony and these dressing rooms, and they continue to use them today. So the notables that are on this list include Sachin Tendulkar with his 3 centuries. All those 3 centuries, when you look at them, have got a D note against them, meaning he was not out. And therefore that average of 157 is understood as a result of that. So he scored 3 centuries. Vivius Laxman also scored 3 centuries on this ground. But you have to go back to the 1930s to see an Englishman called Wally Hammond. He scored 4 centuries on this ground. But in terms of the most, it belongs to the Australian side, and Ricky Ponning's got that honour. But we'll just focus on the opposition. The first Indian to score a century is Gavaskar. There's Amarnath's son, right? Yeah. And you've got the fantastic bowlers like Imran Khan, Kapil Dev in that series. And recently Amir Jamal of Pakistan took 5 wickets on the ground. It was actually 6. So he's the latest addition to those honours. And if you've finished that innings, done that milestone, the man that does the writing, he writes this. He'll do it the night that finishes. So if it's day in a cupboard that used to sit right where those refrigerators are. And Jason Gillespie, who had taken 8 wickets for 50 runs against New South Wales, comes inside, speaks to the dressing room attendant, his name is Rocky, and says, Rocky, where am I going to put my record? Happy because the umpire unfairly gave him out. So he wrote it there. So just some examples of that as well. But if you look over this side, perspex, and away we go. So this is a couple of great examples. The last was the great Australian Victorian Scott Boland, who took 5 wickets against New South Wales. Yeah. Yeah, there's some great names there.
Then you have someone else who's there.
Just come in and take a seat wherever you want.
Wow.
Do they do it themselves?
Sorry? No, I think the team manager may do part of it and then they sign it. Yeah.
Because we're not talking about station about
ये ड्रेसिंग रूम है भाई। मिच फिलिप्स ये है
About following in the footsteps of the players that they've admired, they go out in the same way. That's why they use these old tired dressing rooms, because it's the history that's in here. Now, generally, the captain of the country will sit like there. So if it's Kohli or Joe right there, the rest of the team will then have their spots. Maybe they've sat there on the previous test match. Okay, so they tend to try and sit in